everyone to this beautiful, lovely Google Hangout called Pregnancy and Birthing with Ease. I am Megan Hill, and I'm here with some amazing women who have been using the Access Consciousness tools throughout all aspects of birthing, labor, delivery, pregnancy, and we're just going to dive right in and share what has worked for us in different ways that we've been using these tools. So let's just start with Cara. So you're the first one to my left on my screen. So just go ahead, if we can kind of introduce each other or ourselves.
Hi, I'm Cara Wright. I am an Access Conscious Certified Facilitator, and I'm a Talk to the Entities Certified Facilitator. And I've been using these tools for like the last 2 years. And I'm a doula. I've been a doula for 15 years. And for me, what the tools have created for the people that I assist in birth since I've been doing Access tools has been beyond phenomenal. So I'm so excited to be here and share that kind of stuff. So, yay!
Yay! Cassie!
Hi! I'm Cassie Schreppel, and I actually got into Access on my second pregnancy towards the end, and it just like opened up so much for me. So I'm excited to share my story and like my whole birthing experience. Probably later on though. So hi.
Miss Sadie.
Hi. Yeah, I found Access probably when I was around like 5 months pregnant with my third baby, and everything was so different. And I actually have had the awareness since then, and even closer to when she was born, that it might have been my baby that actually brought me to Access. I think that she had an agenda, like she knew. Yeah. You guys are laughing like that's a joke, but I'm not kidding. Like seriously, that baby was like, this shit is going down. No more unaware mama. You need to get your shit together and be real. So it was awesome. Yeah.
I'm laughing.
So I have great experience, but
Awesome.
all I can see is everybody going.
Beauty is these tools, you don't have any fun at all. So
No.
You're here, and you're you're here because you actually are pregnant right now.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm actually 38 weeks today.
Yay!
Yes, I have been practicing using the Access tools for, I don't even know how long now, 1.5 years, 2 years. And I have had 2 previous pregnancy children without Access tools, and now the third one with is completely, it's so different. So it's really cool.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad. As you can tell with all of the introductions, we have a beautiful blend going on here. I, too, have a 3-year-old and was using the Access Consciousness tools all the way through it. The beauty of the whole process, I think, is that you gain awareness throughout the whole thing. So it's not like any of these will give you the answer that you're looking for to have the perfect birth. It's actually the way to guide you through, to empower you to have whatever it is that you would like to create, or whatever it is the little being in your belly is inviting you to. So let's just start with, if we go through some of our favorite tools that we've either are currently using with people that are pregnant or looking at pregnancy, or the tools that you used within your last pregnancy. What tools you wish you had? So let's start with our favorite tool to use while pregnant. How about that?
Yeah. So I was like, it was go time, you know, and it was kind of stressful because of my water had like been going for a while, and we're like, hey, we gotta get this going, and childcare suddenly wasn't happening, so I was just getting really panicked and stressed, thinking, oh my god, this birth is gonna be awful. And because I was new to Access, I went to like one of the beginner tools, and I just kept going, how does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? I'm in the shower like, how does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? Like just like repeating it, and so I started calming down, and then I kept asking and getting a little more clarity, and then I got expand. And then so I just sat in the shower and just expanded like as far as I could go, and then everything changed in that moment. So, and that's a pretty easy one to remember.
You just took everyone with you. Did you guys perceive how everybody just
Yeah, that was awesome. So if you're new to any of this stuff, Access Consciousness has basically tools that invite you to exactly what she experienced. It's empowering you to get to where you're going or to step into something different. And they start with asking questions. So how does it get any better than this is one of the key questions, because it takes you out of where she was wanting to go, which was, oh my God, it's going to be terrible. Oh my God, it's going to be the worst birth ever. Holy shit, this is terrible. Makes you and says, okay, fuck, this is like going terribly wrong. How does it get any better?
I have something to add to that, though, to add to Cassie's, because one of the things that happens when you're in labor is there's an intensity of sensation that you go into this idea like it's fear. And one of the things that I had that kept coming up was, what if it's not fear? What if it's something else? What if it's excitement? And so instead of going into the fear, which would cause me to kind of contract and withdraw a little bit, I would be like, yes, yes. And it was like I would be almost like reaching forward. And I remember in that transition stage, which if any of you have ever had a baby before, transition is supposed to be like the worst, but it was like I had my eyes closed and I was, with those waves of contraction that come back to back to back, and it's a lot of sensation, but I have this distinct memory of actually being in that space and kind of going inward and asking myself, like, if I didn't need to be afraid of this, what would I know? And going into like, I'm fucking excited, my baby's coming, I'm about to meet this kid. And I was like searching the ethers for that sensation of pushing, and as soon as it came, I was like, yes, here we go, it is time. And it was like this very proactive kind of like, get this show on the road. But if I didn't have that tool of, am I afraid or is this excitement, I also could have gone into, oh no, panic, get me out of here, somebody help me, whereas instead I went into, yes, this is happening, like, moving forward as opposed to contracting and shrinking back, which was very empowering in the actual moment of birthing my baby.
Cool. So one of the ways that I'm just dropping in the actual tool so that people can pull it out from there is likely how you got there was in Access. One of the things is when something like that comes up, whether you think it's fear or excitement, you can ask, what is this? Which is essentially what you were doing. What is this? Is it fear? Is it excitement? What's true for you will always make you feel lighter. So for her, she was like, holy crap, this is actually excitement. I'm about to have this effing baby. So ask her, like, what's actually going on here? Is it fear? Is it excitement? Is it even mine? Is it someone else's fear? Is it someone like, and asking questions all along the way, I think is kind of the thread of what's coming through this so far is the questions that will actually change the energy that's occurring throughout the whole Shazam.
Totally.
What about Cara? Cara does this like on a daily basis. This is not just one baby she gets to have, or two. She does.
Yeah, and for me, what's interesting is how amazing it is that the tools work for everyone. How it doesn't matter like your background or where you're coming from, or if it's your first baby or if it's your third baby, or if you have had past births that were traumatic, or because so many people come to birth with a story, and whether or not you've had children yet, most women come to with a point of view of what they think it's going to be. And so for me, interesting point of view, you have this point of view, is a really cool place to start too, which is one of the Access tools as well, because it is really just a point of view, and it's looking at like, what would you like to create for your birth process? And for me, as a doula, since I learned the bars, and I remember when I was learning the bars, which is the first body process you learn in Access, I remember just thinking, oh my God, this would be so awesome for women who are getting ready to have children, because so much of what occurs in a birth, and for me as a doula,
So what she was
finished what she was saying. Yeah, She's saying, well, so much what occurs is that where you where all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that the mother is having are literally imprinting on that baby. So yeah.
So the bars, so the bars basically dissipates and releases all the energetic connection to all those thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And so what it does is it creates a space for women to create what is going to create more for them in this particular pregnancy. Because also what women tend to do is like, well, this is what happened with the first pregnancy and birth, so that's what's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again, and that doesn't have to be necessarily so. And what I can say is since I've been, and I pretty much with my clients, I run at least 1 bars prior to the birth. I usually run some bars points during the birth, and sometimes depending on what's occurring for them, I'll do more than 1 bar session before birth. I have not attended a birth that has gone over 6 hours. And most of the time, it's way shorter than that. And most of the time, I have to literally talk the people that are like the care providers, like the nurses, the hospital, the people like, no, this woman's like getting ready to have her baby. Because she's so calm, they're like, they don't think she's in labor because people are waiting for the woman to be frantic. And people who have these tools, they don't go into frantic or fear so much. So it's been better than I could have thought it would be for people, for women who are having babies, and what else is possible. So bars, definitely.
For sure. I second that for sure.
So we can put more information about the bars on the actual page for this Hangout, but what she basically said, it's an hour-ish long process. There's 32 points on your head that release the electromagnetic thought charge of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So Teresa being 38 weeks pregnant, it probably isn't as comfortable for her to lay on her back. So one of the things that I've talked with women is having some sort of either like zero gravity chair where you can kind of sit up. You can do it sitting. You can take an Access Bars class. There's facilitators all around the world. It's in 170 countries now. There's more than 2,000 facilitators around the world. So there is one near you, likely. There's also a bars class coming up with the founder, Gary Douglas, on the 26th, I believe, of November. The correct date on the website. But just great information for you to have, and you can find more on the Access Consciousness website. As each of these women here likely run bars and teach bars, so there's that as well.
Can I share a story about what bars changed for a client of mine?
Absolutely.
So she had her first birth was, in her point of view, extremely traumatic. She like C-section, like she had like natural birth, pool, that the whole thing is what she had planned. That was her ideal, and it just went not the way she wanted it. And to the point where her and her husband refused to ever try and have children again. They would like another child, but they were like, we're not going through that again. So I had 1 session with her, and we just talked about it and ran the bars. And then about 3 weeks later, she's at a function, and people were talking about births, and she goes to talk about her experience. And as she's talking about it, she's like, she has the memory of what occurred, but she was like, there was no charge. Like, she almost was looking for it. She's like, I know I didn't like it, but there was no like charge for her at all. And then they went home that night, and she was to her husband, she's like, you know what, let's do it. Let's have baby number 2. Like, it just changed like that for her. And she just was willing to like let all of that go and just be open to like a whole new possibility, and without the expectation that it would be completely different the next time, but that this time she just had more tools available.
Yeah. When you're running, if you do have any sort of traumatic experience or fear of birthing or blah blah blah, if you do receive the bars, one of the things you can do, and that I do with my clients, which does exactly what you're talking about, Cassie, is have your bars run and talk about it all. Talk about like, okay, what is the worst thing you think could actually happen, and talk about it. Because when you talk about it, it brings the thought up and it allows it to at least release the charge, so that whatever shows up is actually, you have choice. You can ask a question. You don't go into total freak out paranoid mode.
Yeah.
Which is okay if you do that too.
So I actually have a little bit of a story about that, because my middle baby was almost 10 pounds, and I'm not a particularly like big hip, big bone person. And so when it was time to like push and have her be born, she was born at home. So I didn't have the option of anybody like coming in to save me from this. I was like, oh, here we are. It has to happen. And I had that fear moment of like, oh my God, I'm going to break in half. I'm going to like, it really was such conclusion. And it's interesting about how much conclusion we go into in that space, because it's like you have a sensation and then you go to a conclusion, and then you have a new sensation and you go to a conclusion. And so one of the tools that that actually helped me the third time around was just totally going like all that conclusion, just let it go. And even though I didn't do the processing in my head because that's too much mental activity, you know, in that space, you're kind of in a zone. But it was like all those conclusions. I kept thinking thoughts and I'd be like, okay, whatever that is, that's just a thought. It's just a conclusion. And it was almost like there was a tangible vibration of it in my awareness of it as like this density of it, some kind of conclusion that was not actually applicable to what I was experiencing at the time, which was totally different than the previous time when I had this giant fat baby. that we talked about before. You don't want to hear any details of that. But then with this baby, it was just like, just let that go. That doesn't apply here. That doesn't apply here. And even though that way of looking at it isn't necessarily an Access tool, the tools of Access actually got me to a place where I could perceive that in my awareness and go, oh, that's just an awareness of something. Like, that's not real. That isn't who I am. That isn't what's going on. And to actually receive those sensations and thoughts and awarenesses as that, as sensation, thoughts, and awarenesses, not as truth of what is occurring. And it was huge for me in that last birth. I mean, there was so much ease in actually birthing her because I didn't have to make all that real, you know?
I think what you just said is key, though, because when you are actually in labor, when you're having the baby, you are in such a zone that you don't have the time to be like, oh, what's the right question to ask here? What tool do I need? The nice thing is if you've had your bars run, or if you've at least read something like watched this, or had some sort of exposure ahead of time, it will come in when it's actually required. So if you're watching this and you're like preparing and you're taking notes, there isn't anything that you actually have to do or get right or take notes on. Just know that one of these questions, if you're about to have a baby or whatever, if you're about to get pregnant, will likely pop up in your head, because that's why you're watching this right now, or that's why you're reading about this, because the tool will be there when you require it. So.
And I just literally thought of this, like, how much fun can you actually have bringing your child into the world? Because there's all this lore around, oh, so much of what we see on TV, that's such bullshit. There's nothing that's true. But you're not going to be in a restaurant and your water breaks and go, oh, God, rush us to the hospital. That's not how it happens at all. So everything that brings up, it's like, what if all of that is just a lie? And can you actually like pull yourself out of this media kind of way and actually know what's true for you? And how much fun can you really have if you didn't have to be afraid of the sensation, if that was just sensation? And actually potentially the sensation that was your body giving you awareness as to something rather than like making that intensity pain. What else could be possible? And truly, like, how much fun can you have? It is, you only get to do it maybe a couple times. It's seriously like the coolest thing ever. Yeah.
I was literally laughing through my contractions. Like, I was because I was with really funny people. Like, I surrounded myself with amazing, beautiful people, and it was like really light. And even my midwife, they knew me, and so we're just laughing and having the best time. And then a contraction would come, and it would be like, oh, ha, like, just going through it. And it was fun, and it can be fun. It totally can.
So, Teresa, you're the one that's actually pregnant. What's up for you? How's your body? Do you have any questions or anything that you're using right now? At 38 weeks, you're probably a bit uncomfortable physically.
I am a little uncomfortable, but nothing like the first two pregnancies. I find that who does it belong to is the hugest tool for me, right from day one up until like right this minute. With morning sickness and nausea and everything like that, asking who does it belong to. If it didn't alleviate it right away, it was I had the awareness of what my body required to shift it. So whether it was to lay down, whether it was to eat sugar, which was mostly what I eat a lot of, and actually I'm still eating a lot of, but that's just what my body requires right now is a lot of sugar. So yeah, who does it belong to? And at the beginning, I just kind of looked at a lot of the reference points, kind of what Sadie was saying about, you know, like your water breaking and rushing to the hospital, or it's all going to be painful, and that's what I'm actually looking at now, and Cassie and I were looking at it yesterday a little bit, was all the trauma and the drama and the pain. Like, every time you read something about a birth, pain is associated, like that word pain is associated with labor. And I think that there's something totally different possible.
Well, look at that in any area of our lives. Like, how much do we actually do we associate the sensations both in our body and in our being of expansion and stepping into new possibility with pain? I mean, even, you know what I mean? It's like anytime you're looking to actually, even from a general access point of view, those of you, because I know there's people on this call, or at least want to watch it later, who are seasoned access people, and I know there's brand new people. So when you're looking at your life and you're looking at wanting to change something, there's always kind of this discomfort that comes up, and if you're not willing to receive it, then you perceive it as pain. Whether that's emotional pain, you know, of leaving a previous way of being and actually expanding into more. So how much of actually the pain that we perceive as a physicality of pain has to do with the expansion of what's going on with our bodies, as our bodies, and then knowing that you're literally leaving a different way of being and stepping into something else. And what if we could actually receive it as that, instead of having to look at it as the conclusion of the sensation of physical pain? What would that change if you could actually see it that way, instead of clinging on to like, oh, the contraction? It's so, do you see how it's like way down here in regards to where you could be perceiving what that actually is that's different, a whole different possibility?
Yeah. And one of the things you said is that it's actually an awareness that you're, like, information that your body's giving you. I remember screaming that this is actually pain. Like, off, you know, oh, is it pain or intensity? This is absolutely pain. Like, this fucking hurt. And when I look at it, you know, afterwards, it was like, okay, so what awareness was I unwilling to have, or what was my body actually trying to tell me? And it was really trying to tell me that it wasn't going to happen the way that I had planned. Like, it wasn't, I had a massive child inside of me who did not plan on coming out the way that I had planned him coming out. So I ended up having a C-section, but that was actually, had I listened probably to the intensity of that pain when it started occurring, then I probably would have cut off several hours of extreme intensity, because there was literally something that was my body was trying to tell me at that point that I just dismissed because it didn't match this ideal fantasy of what birth was going to be for me. So great.
Bringing it right back to the question, right back to being the question, like, what is this and what do I do with it? And can I change it? And if so, how do I change it? What's it going to take to change it? Instead of being in that conclusion that it's always just awareness or it's always whatever. Like, actually, your experience, you, Megan, and every other person out there, it's your experience. It's not like, it's not us sitting here in this group talking to you about what worked for us, so it's going to work for you. It's like, that's the empowering part of it, is that we're not saying this is the way to do it. We're saying be the question, be in the question, use the questions, and actually be willing to receive the awareness, because you're so damn psychic, especially in that birthing state. It's literally like everything goes, you know, and you're perceiving everything for miles and for dimensions and all that shit. So what is it actually contributing to you, and what can you know that will actually allow you to, it's almost like that awareness is like, if you were willing to receive it as awareness, is the tool to take you out of the fear. Because the fear is usually of what you don't know or don't understand, right? So it's like, if you're willing to receive the awareness, ask the question, what is this? What do I do with it? Can I change it? If so, how? If you're willing to actually ask those questions and be in the awareness of it, it's almost like there's that simple tool that will literally take you from the fear into awareness, where you can actually do something with it, use it, change it if you need to, so that it's empowering to you. It's your birth, it's your experience with your baby, and it's not like, we're not sitting here trying to tell anybody who's watching this that there's one way. It's like, these are tools to use in your space to empower you, right?
It's actually the only place in my life where I didn't have someone else to follow. Like some other answer that I had, it was like, this is me and my body, and we're going to have to figure this one out.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about what happens at the, like, you know, in those amazing hours at the end, but there's this huge chunk of time, those very long, you know, actually 10
Lots
months.
of waiting.
What tools did you use or have you used or talked through with your clients to, you know, to me, there's a lot about that first trimester that nobody really tells you. You may not feel that great. Your body is going through huge amounts of change. What tools do you use during that point? Have any information or tools that you would share? I know that who does it belong to is huge, so just really quickly, 98% of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions don't actually belong to you when you're pregnant and when you're not pregnant. So asking the question, who does it belong to? Again, what's truth will make you feel lighter, so you can actually use that throughout your whole life. But what else have you used throughout, I guess, before the birth, before the big finale? Anyone want to start?
I'm happy to start. Or Cassie, you can go.
No, I just asked, what have you got? I knew you had something.
Well, I mean, and one of the things that I do is I teach prenatal yoga classes. So I work with women in that whole, through the whole process, not just through the birth. But, you know, for me, what I started to realize is, like, the main thing I try to give women is the awareness of the being that's coming to, you know, when you're pregnant, you're actually co-creating with another being. And it's not just this tiny little baby being, it's this huge infinite being. And so a lot of, I think, what women will experience, and not all of it, but a lot of the physical symptoms women will experience is because they're unaware, because we don't learn here that beings, like babies coming in, are beings, and so you don't actually realize the energy that being is. And so it's that your body, you are actually aware somewhere in your universe of the bigness of that being. And if you would just lower your barriers and be willing to receive from the being, a lot of that stuff can really shift and change dynamically. Because we have this point of view, we teach women that you're pregnant and your job is to take care of this being. We do not teach them that this being is here to contribute to them. And not just to them in their lives, but like during the pregnancy, they're totally willing to contribute to your body. They're totally willing to contribute to the pregnancy. And it's women just not having the awareness that that's a possibility. And if they were to just lower their barriers and receive the contribution that the being is to the whole process, and ask the being what they know. And, you know, if you're experiencing things that are uncomfortable, like nausea, or your body's uncomfortable, you can ask the being, hey, would you be willing to contribute to my body right now? And it's such an aha for a lot of the women in my classes, because no one's ever told them, hey, you can receive from this being. It's not just your job to gift to them. You can actually receive from them. So the lowering of the barriers and the willingness to receive from the being that's coming to co-create with them can really shift and change a lot of stuff for women. So that's something I really recommend.
Yeah. I don't think there's anyone else out there talking about that. So that's really cool.
And Karen, I just mentioned, like, that's so amazing you said that, and what a gift it is to receive from them.
Totally.
It's so good when people receive you, and like this being there, and it's like, I want to give to you, like, mommy, 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 and we just know it's my job to take care of you, right? But like, what that is to receive everything that they're, wow, like trying to contribute to you. Thank you.
Yeah, and so all of you that have babies that haven't been doing that yet, they're like maybe 15. Maybe you could try it now. It's okay. It's never too late. You can do it now. It's fine.
I think it was Sadie who was saying that their baby like totally got him into this stuff. I went to my first class when I was 8 months pregnant because there was this intense demand. You know, like, you're stepping up. This, you're gonna go places because I want you to take me with you. Take that.
Yeah. Well, and how much, I mean, this isn't to glorify any like metaphysical conclusion about what's going on with sort of the change that's happening here for us on this planet, but it's just an awareness of, like, I really did perceive that there was something about the being that I was bringing in that was like, this is going to expand and you better step up. Kind of like, we're going in this direction, and I have said along the way in regards to the classes that I've taken, or it's almost this like ferocious hunger for more and to create more and to be more and to step into more and to have more of me and to actually really like pull up my big girl panties and be everything that I know that I am and I know I've come here to be, and to not do it out of obligation like there's something pressing that on me, but stepping up in a bigger way. And part of that has to do with not just her, but my other children too. And maybe I just couldn't receive it at the time, because I mean, it's like, I do know that it benefits all of us, for all of us to step into more, but there was such a tangible acknowledgement of what she was requiring, you know, in many ways. And the bars, I think being pregnant and getting my bars run so many times, Cara and I swapped a lot of bars through the second half of my pregnancy. Like, yeah. And it was such a contribution both to me and her. And the crazy things, even, I'm not going to guarantee any of you that if you're having babies anytime soon that you're going to have like these miracle babies, because now she's 2, right? So other stuff is showing up that maybe wasn't there before, but yeah. But for the first like 2 years, I'm not kidding, she potty trained at 17 months. She was like the easiest baby. She's so laid back. She's so easygoing. She's super smart. She talks in full sentences, you know, like a couple months. I mean, she's really different than most kids. And I wonder if part of it is I've been running biomimetric mimicry on her for a long time, and I've running her bars, run my bars when I was pregnant, and I just can't help but wonder, like, is there so much of that that's actually beyond this reality that's contributing to what we're actually opening up for the possibilities, both for her and for me and for, you know, these children that we're contributing this awareness to, that this can change stuff. It doesn't mean that there's a guarantee of what can change. It never turns out like you think it's going to turn out, but what else is possible with these tools that may not have been before? And it's how much fun can you have? Just like, can it be a huge game to see what could we create? I don't know. Let's find out. You know, let's play. So.
Cool. There's one of the things you mentioned was a body process, and that's another element that you can play with that's absolutely phenomenal for the body during pregnancy, after childbirth, and even with the baby. They're hands-on body processes. There's over, I don't even know, like there's over 60, I think, in the first class that you can take them. You can learn body processes individually, but check that out as well, because it is a huge contribution. I couldn't lay flat to get the bars, so I remember having this like 2-hour MTVSS body session that changed everything. So wondering, Cara, if you have any information to, you know, the whole system, the whole paradigm of birthing out there is extremely polarized. There's definitely a right way and there's definitely a wrong way on both sides. What is you do with either the nurses, the medical staff, or whoever that you come across? Is there a book? Is there a tool? Is there something that you invite them to make playing in that arena more fun for you? I'm just curious what's...
Well, you know, what's funny is, so just because when I first came to Access, I realized that I actually had been perpetrating that. Because birth is extremely polarized, and you're either on this camp or you're on this camp. It's like almost similar to politics. It's very strange, but it's what is. So I realized for myself that I had been perpetrating a lot of that, and when I started to learn to be in the question and to really look at what's actually going to work for people and what actually people are choosing and be an allowance of that choice, it changed a lot of, like, when I actually walk into a birth space, I'm kind of the energy of what's right for the woman and what's right for the being that's coming to be born, and I don't actually have a point of view anymore of what that actually looks like. So I'm not like, a woman has to do it this way or she can't do it that way, and there's this really weird thing that a lot of people will do is they go and educate themselves about birth, and then they come out with this like blueprint of, if I don't do it that way, I didn't succeed at it.
Right.
And the way this reality deals with it is, well, you had a healthy baby, so you succeeded, which leaves, a lot of times it leaves the woman disempowered, because she's like, well, I had a healthy baby, but then in her own mind she ticks off all the places where she thinks she failed, or she goes into the wrongness of herself. And one of the things that, you know, is we talk about in Access is that, what if you're not wrong? You know, what if no choice is wrong for you? And so what's right about this you're not getting is a huge tool, and I use that a lot in birth, especially when there's things that occur that are what you would consider out of the norm, or I can't even remember the word they use for it, but like an intervention. Okay, this is how funny. It's like I've completely stepped out of that reality. But like things that they consider interventions and so on and so forth. And, you know, and I've used the tools with like even the people in the room, and I'll just say them out loud, like, okay, so like what else is possible? And I've just like said that, and it's so amazing what I can actually get people in the room to shift. Like nurses will look at me like I'm crazy, but then they'll go, oh, there is something else possible, and then they'll like recommend something that's exactly what the woman needs. So I've had even OBs, which sometimes traditionally OBs are a little bit harder to, because they're very specific in the way that they do things a lot of times. Not always, but a lot of times. And I'll be like, okay, well, I get that that's how you do things, but what else is possible? And I'll just kind of throw the question out there. And, you know, I've had them be more willing to do what works for the woman and less what works for them. So I just kind of go in with the invitation of like, look, what's it going to take to create what this woman is looking to create and what would work for her in the being? And that's all because of the Access tools, because before the Access tools, I was very polarized, and I had a very specific point of view about how a woman should do it. And, you know, it's like, what else is possible?
What's your reality?
Is key, because when if you are surrounded by people who have points of views about how you should do it, ask the question, what else is possible? Or if they say if they say no to you, say, okay, well, what else is possible? What's like, okay, so we can't do it that way. How can we do it? How can I have to go this route? How can I have to? Where you just keep asking them to see a different point of view, and I fired my OB/GYN at 36 weeks.
Yeah.
He told me I was going to die if I didn't take a flu shot or something. So be willing. Like the other thing that these tools do is they do empower you to know that you know. So when you're feeling vulnerable and you're feeling very scared that like they do use this threat that you like kill your baby and like F up your child forever, and it's the worst feeling. It is absolutely the most terrifying feeling in the world. So if it's heavy, it's likely not true for you.
Yeah.
So,
well, I remember Susanna, I read something that Susanna Mittermeier, who's also an Access facilitator, one of the things she wrote was something about this awareness with her car needing to get worked on. And what she said in this, I was reading it, I didn't actually talk to her about this, but it was something like, I took it to the mechanic and I let the mechanic tell me what they thought, and then I used my awareness with light and heavy to see what was right for me and for my car. I mean, a car, this is you and your body, but can you use that for you and your body? Like what your OB tells you, can you hear what they tell you and be in the knowing of you, so you can go, oh, okay, that is right for me. That's light. And oh God, no, that's super heavy. Like, what would it take to actually? It's like we put our awareness outside of us, and what would it take to bring your awareness back to you and your body and actually know what's true for you, instead of letting yourself be so swayed by everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the being that you're choosing to be as whether it's your first baby or a subsequent baby or however your whatever stage in life this is for you, like actually Laura Marie actually just sent this quote out, and I thought it was perfect for this thing. It was, "The pain persists in direct resistance to your willingness to be aware of your potency." So, like, what are you stepping into as a potential mother of a first baby or a potential mother of a subsequent baby? You know, like, what pains are you creating because of your resistance to be the potency that you truly be and the awareness that you truly have? You know, and like, if you use that as a tool to be like, if I'm perceiving something that feels wonky or feels heavy or feels like pain, what am I resisting being aware of or stepping into or changing that could actually create this as total ease if I were willing to have that as it's showing up?
And what if you're actually creating a new reality, a new birthing paradigm with every choice you make with your pregnancy?
Mm-hmm.
I found that you feel slightly alone if you're one of those that's actually looking at creating something different. So what if that's what if you're just leading the charge, and what now follows? Because 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever I had my kid, I can't remember now, but I remember feeling so like alone and isolated. There wasn't really anyone within Access that was talking about this. And look, I have this handful of women here now that we're talking about it. It's so cool that it's actually, there's something happening. There's articles I'm seeing coming out that are asking questions like this, like, what if it's not that this is right and this is wrong? And there's actually people that are looking at it from a totally different place. And what if this is just the beginning of this totally new way of having children and creating just new possibilities with your body?
Yeah, and what if it's the required next step for these beings who are coming in with so much awareness and so much potency, and by us continuing to, to not be aware of what we know and to not acknowledge what they potentially know, we're literally like creating impediments to ease. There's so much more ease available to us if we would be willing to go with our awareness and to actually know what's true for us. God, think of how much we actually are not receiving the ease of the changes that we could be making that could make our lives so much better, and our pregnancies easier, our births easier, our postpartum with new baby easier, our parenting small children easier, which God knows I have not received the ease of, and my cat is like...
The thing that I keep looking at from the beginning is with, if you're involved in Access Consciousness at all, with all of us here you are looking for some sort of different possibility, a different reality, and at the root of this whole thing is a world where judgment doesn't actually exist. Yeah. And I think that that's what was so unsettling to me, is that within, like, all through pregnancy and all through birth, like, you're basically planting the seed of judgment that when they come into this reality, they're either right, they're either wrong. Like, there's this, like, thing of judgment that starts from a very, very early time. And what if we can actually be the ones to start unwinding that they can actually come in without judgment as the basis of reality? So that's my target, personally.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah.
So we have about 5 more minutes left. If you guys want to, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to say, any other tools that you're just dying to talk about. We can do this again if people like it. This is literally just
scratching the surface.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally scratching the surface. I just, for me, I just invite people to the idea that there is a different possibility with this, and that choosing to be a mom and even choosing to be a parent, because it's not just about the woman, but it's also about the other parent also involved. But it's like, what if it's a co-creation with the being? And what if you're willing to actually do that, like co-create with them? And what would that change? And, how much more could you all receive from each other? And what else is possible? Absolutely.
The other thing to add is, like, what if there is no right or wrong way? I think, especially coming from the natural birthing community, like, all 3 of my babies were birthed at home and in this great environment and blah, 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 but it was like, I was a member of this group of women, and all of us now are self-proclaimed like recovering addicts of this righteousness, of this natural birth community. We make jokes about it, honestly, because there was so much judgment and like righteousness, really better even than rightness. And what if you could actually go beyond any of the conclusions of what's right or wrong for you in your pregnancy, in your trying to conceive, in your birthing, and any of your parenting choices? Like, what if actually the change that is required is you knowing what you know that has nothing to do with any choice that you make for any point along the way, whether it's what you're doing when you're trying to conceive, what you're eating when you're pregnant, what music you're listening to. I mean, this is one of those areas where there is just like, oh my God, we're under just like shit piles of so much conclusion and judgment. And, I mean, really, can you feel it's like, it makes me want to gag almost, but it's like, what if the first step to actually creating a different reality for you and your baby is just actually asking, like, what do I want? What do I want to have be different here? Like, you know, there's so much information out there, and there's not to say that it's not a good idea to actually seek information, because in some ways what we don't know, we don't know. And so it's not a problem to like learn more, read about natural birth, or read about the consequences of certain foods or cleaning your cat box that could poison your child. There's so much crap out there that makes you fearful. I mean, seriously, are we right? But what would it take for you to know what you know, and to actually know that you're the infinite being, and this being chose you for a reason? So what are you aware of, and what can you choose to actually know that there's nothing wrong with you, your baby, or anything that you're both choosing? And actually, if all the other stuff went away, like if all you could get out of this is what questions can you be asking to actually know what you know and create your reality with your pregnancy and your birthing? Like, what a difference in the world that would make by itself. And like Megan said earlier, what if that choice to actually like receive the information that people were wishing to contribute to you, but actually be in the space of knowing what you know? What if you're literally like the pioneers on the forefront of changing the paradigms in birthing and in pregnancy and in parenting? I mean, it's required at this point. So, you know, what can you receive from that? And what can you choose that actually will contribute to you and your baby and everybody else out there? So
that's awesome. One more thing is, I forgot, I wanted to start with this, and that is the tagline of Access Consciousness is, all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory.
Yes.
One place that this absolutely can sink in with you is if you add it to the birthing or pregnancy. Asking every day, all of this pregnancy or all of this birth or whatever word you want to put in there comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. That means everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, will come to me with ease. I didn't have this orgasmic home birth experience, and I never thought I was going to, and yet everything was filled with ease, joy, and absolute exuberance. It's amazing what can happen if you come out of the right and wrong, like Sadie was saying. So I'd also end with that. And
ease doesn't mean comfort. Let me just say that as the caveat. Ease doesn't mean comfortable. Right. Okay, so that was a misconception that I had, and actually that made me really kind of always feeling like I could never get it. You know, it was like, what if ease doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be comfortable, or that you're not going to have intensity or sensation? Yeah. So, you know, don't think that you're not having ease because, you know, potentially the contractions don't feel good, you know, because they're not comfortable for you. There's an intensity there, and what if you could receive it without judging that there's a wrongness to it? Could that actually be then the ease? So just one area where it's like, where could you apply that? Intensity doesn't necessarily mean that you're not having ease, but the judgment of the intensity is what creates the dis-ease, right?
Yeah. Can you all just say where you're located? Because then I'll put all of your information on this, like on the video replay, but if you can just say where you are now or where you tend to play, or if people can do phone sessions with you, because I think that this will obviously live on, and this can be a way that people can get resources in this area. So let's end there, and before that, just thanks everyone for being on.
Yay!
Yay! Sarah, do you want to start? You're on my left side. I see you over here. So.
Yes. Okay, so you can, the easiest way to reach me is you can, and I of course do I live in Washington State, but I travel and I do Skype sessions, info sessions. So you can reach me at talktokara WRIGHT @gmail.com, or CFMW.com is my website. So those are the places you can reach me.
Cool. Cassie?
I live in Kelowna, BC, Canada, and as well, like Skype sessions or anything I can contribute to birthing moms would be so awesome for me. So yeah, and I just wanted to say one piece, and I know we're ending it, but I've been dying to say this. It's like talking about the whole idea about birth plans. I had my first pregnancy with a plan. This is how it was going to look. This was, and it really, I kept hearing from everyone how important, how vital it was to having a successful birth was to have this plan. And what I really discovered is that, like what Cara was talking about, like co-creation. Like my my second pregnancy was about creating something, and the moment you have a plan, it's kind of solidified. Like, so then you have to get it right or wrong.
Yeah.
If you are co-creating, it's a constant moving of energy, and anything is possible within that, and then there can't be a right or wrong, because it's just literally like, what are we creating? What are we creating? What then? Like, what is this going to be like? What is this going to be like? So, yeah, like just pod that, everyone. And like I had a moment in my second birth, like I did, you know, like the pushing part. With my second birth, it was 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes long, and he was pushing, like I could feel his feet at the top of my uterus, like he was pushing himself out, like with intensity. And I was just kind of like not cognitively asking questions, but being in a space of question. And there was a moment where it felt like, as like, you know, he was crowning, it was like, whoa, hold on, like there's something here. So I kind of just paused. Like I didn't really, like, I just paused and it was like, I need to just hold this space for 1 minute. And I like, you know, energetically expanded, and then baby came. And it was like, I really got that if I had just barreled through, that it probably would have torn, like there could have been some stuff there. But it was like, just such ease. And you're co-creating with the being, you're co-creating with your own body. And just being that question of what is required here, without the right or wrong, without the plan, just kind of going with it. And I'm done.
Yay! That's awesome.
Thank you for that, because I had a plan, and I did not allow it to move. It definitely changed.
Teresa, you're up.
Oh, right. Where am I from? Sorry, I got distracted by the pee emergency.
Welcome to Parenthood, everybody.
Never looks like how you plan it. I am in Victoria, BC, Canada, and I wanted to add that all of the judgments and the conclusions, and just being able to acknowledge that they're just an interesting point of view, and that it doesn't mean that you've done it wrong or you're doing it wrong. It's just that's someone's point of view, and everyone has a different point of view. So
Yeah.
And so I'm Sadie Lake, and I'm actually physically located in Spokane, Washington. But like everybody else, I go anywhere. I'm willing to go anywhere. If there's a demand, you can reach me at sadieroselake@gmail.com. My classes are all posted at sadielake.accessconsciousness.com. And the only other thing I wanted to say about I wanted to expand on what Cassie was saying, because it is a co-creation. It's a co-creation with you and your baby. And let's not leave our bodies out of the mix here. It's like we're talking about all this process that we go through with this birthing, but our bodies are actually the ones doing the majority of the actual birthing the baby and growing the baby, and you know, housing that little child while it's growing. And I had a similar sensation to Cassie in that I didn't feel my baby actually pushing up to get out, but I had this awareness, like I would push and then it would be like she wasn't going anywhere. And so I actually asked my midwife, can you please break my water so that I can get her out? And it was like, oh, that's that's the co-creation. Like my body's saying, we're doing all this work, and she's slipping back and forth, and it's not actually happening. But it was like being willing to go, what's required now? What's required now? Okay, what's required now? Let me actually be in co-creation with my body and take my body's what the signals my body is sending me as the awareness of what I need to do or be or choose that will actually create more ease for my body, and just honoring that your body is such a contribution to this whole process. So don't dissociate from your body. Actually ask your body what contribution you can be to assisting your body in doing what is required to have this baby grow, be born, be healthy, and all those other things that we're ultimately desiring for the outcome of this pregnancy or of this baby being birthed or whatever. So
cool. That just reminded me that a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about during this Hangout is actually processing and tools and information that with a phone session with one of these wonderful ladies can actually change a lot. The one thing that's great to be in person is the bars.
Yeah.
So don't let their physical distance stop you from having the contribution, because they can give you the information that's required to process you through getting out of those points of views or all of that stuff, and then you can have someone more local run your bars if there isn't someone near you. They seem to be, you're up there, I'm down in Denver, and you guys are up there. That's
but we'll go anywhere. Yeah, I'm really, that's a facade. I'll be anywhere in the globe if there's demand.
Cool. So thank you all so much, and I really hope that this is just the beginning, because we all have so much more to say. There's literally just so many other places we could go. So thank you so much, and what else is possible?
Yeah, and then you guys who are listening, or ask questions, because we'd be happy to contribute whatever's required if you would let us know what you're looking for, or what you want help with, or what you would like more clarity on in your own world. So
yeah, let us know. You can just post oh, we have a Facebook group. I forget what it's. I think it's just.
I can tell you. I have it right here. It is. Oh, geez.
Access Consciousness Tools for Pregnancy and Birthing.
So we'll post that with the video too, but you can go there, and we will all be playing there. If you have questions, then you can actually find us there, ask questions, and we'll give you all of our weird and wacky feedback.
And Megan, there will be a replay of this video Hangout, right?
Yep, there'll be a replay.
So we'll post it there.
And then if you have, if there's just more information that you just really want to have, let us know. The whole reason we're doing this is because somebody desperately wanted an article or something solid that they could give to their friends. So we all just decided, hey, let's do it. It's time. So this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.